Hi students! I wanted to talk today about the overview of the documentary response. So again, you have two choices for the final research paper, and one is the documentary response, and the other is the photo analysis. So I wanted to talk about the documentary response option and just give you an overview so that you can, hopefully feel more comfortable with how to structure the essay. So for the documentary response, in the intro, there are a couple things that you want to do. I'm going to put on here, this is definitely the documentary response. So make sure with the documentary response that you are just focused on one video. You don't want to choose a few of the different documentaries that we've watched. Just choose one because that's going to allow more continuity and focus, and that way you won't just have a superficial sort of overview of like several videos. You want to go more in depth on one. All right, so you're just going to choose one of any of the films that we've seen all semester, including you can choose the fictional one, which is our last one, Educating Rita. That's fine. To any of them that we've watched this semester would be fine. So the first thing you need to do in the introduction is you should give a summary of the movie. All right, so summarize the movie. So when I say summarize the movie, I don't mean 2 pages of blow by blow details, all the nitty gritty, right? Of then this happened and this happened, this other thing happened, right? No, you just want to give an overview of what the movie was about for the reader who hasn't seen the movie, because someone should be able to read your paper and be perfectly clear on your meaning, even if they have not seen that movie, right? So you're looking probably, I would say, 3 to 4 sentences to summarize the movie. So what it's about. I mean, it could be 5 if that's what it takes. Not really less than 3 normally. But so you're going to just give an overview, especially as it pertains to what you want to talk about in the movie. So you should have something in mind before you start writing your introduction. Do a brainstorm. Say first, number one, pick a film, right? You got to do that first. And then after you pick your film, I would do a brainstorm of different ideas that you could work with for that movie. And then you should narrow it down to one before you start writing, because otherwise it can kind of go in different directions. So summarize the movie, approximately 3 to 4 sentences. And, you're kind of, especially as it pertains to whatever your main point is. All right. And then next, after you do that, you are going to explain really any controversy that you want to deal with in your paper. It is still an argument paper. This can be intertwined with the next thing, which is the transition. I just don't want you to forget it, that somewhere after the summary, at some point you do need to explain that there are 2 sides to an issue. So it could be that the transition where you explain your idea comes first and then the controversy. I mean, it just, whatever your issue is that you're talking about, you just sort of give both sides of it. So you're starting to wind into your idea and you give both sides. So I'm going to say just here, explain both sides of issue. Whatever issue you want to work with in the film. So you're explaining the idea and you're explaining both sides. I mean, so you might explain the idea first and then explain both sides, or it just kind of depends on how it works out, how you craft it, what seems best for the reader, what is going to be more clear. But you should do this. You should explain both sides of the issue, which is what I call explaining the controversy. And that is probably 2 to 3 sentences. I don't mean also explaining every controversy. So say that you're working with 180 Days in an American High School. There are like several ideas a person could work with. about that film. You don't want to explain all of them. You would be exhausted, and you'd be so tired. And your introduction would be like 4 pages or something. No, it can't be, right? So just pick one issue, all right? So then, next layer is you want to transition to your thesis. I'm going to put explain idea / controversy, then transition to thesis, meaning start what I call turning the car. So you're explaining the idea, you're explaining both sides, but then you do what I call turning the car. So your transition, you're starting to really explain your idea before the thesis. Explain your thesis before the thesis. So I don't mean that you need to repeat your thesis or be repetitive, no, but you don't want to just explain both sides and then have this big jump to your thesis. It's just kind of whiplash for the for the reader. They're like, whoa, I didn't see that one coming. So you don't want to do that. You want to lead the reader to your thesis. So for example, if you are in your house and you have someone coming to visit you again, these are pre-COVID examples, but you have somebody coming to visit you in your house and they're in the driveway. They're not going to jump, I hope, with a pogo stick and just boing, like, they're at the front door, right? No, I mean, they've got to walk up the sidewalk, right? So it's kind of like the transition. You go get them and you are welcoming them, leading them up to your door, right? So you are leading them to your thesis. You're connecting the dots so that they see, okay, this is the idea. You connect it. Then finally, you have a thesis statement. Okay, so your thesis statement is going to, as always, be your topic plus your idea about your topic. All right, so it's your big idea about this issue. So your topic plus your idea about your topic. This is very important. When you're writing about someone else's work, in this case, it is a film. In your summary, you should, I'm going to get back to that point about the thesis, but you should give the title of the film. And I'm going to put full title. Full title. Give the title of the film. So you don't want to just say, in the movie 180 Days. No, the full title is 180 Days in an American High School, right? So, DC Met. So, because there are actually 2 of those. PBS did another one that was filmed in a high school in Alabama. So, we didn't do that one, so we're going to, keep the focus. But you do need to say the full title, all right? So, the full title. And you should really have the director's name. So you can look that up for 180 Days in American High School. I know the director's name is Jackie Jones because she won like several awards for that film. College Incorporated is put out by Frontline, which is a division of PBS. 180 Days is also PBS. But at any rate, you can, as part of your research, you could look up the director's name for whatever the film is, but you should have the director's name. Full title of the film, director's name. Titles of films are italicized. Back in the old days, we used to underline them, but nowadays we italicize titles of films. Titles of films are italicized, right? And so, but also here's the connection with the thesis. I said I would come back to. In the thesis, you should also really have the title of the film. In the film, 180 Days, and then state your idea, state your issue and your idea. Film, issue, idea. Film, issue, idea. All in one sentence, right? That's going to be your thesis. So remember, I just want to reiterate this because this is the last chance I have to do this with this paper for this class, right? You've got to, and I also want to make this point because when you get into the research paper, sometimes we start researching and we get all these facts and some great quotes and all of this, and then sometimes our idea goes out the window, and then what we have is a compilation of facts and quotes, and that is a report. That's a report. But you are not doing just a report here. You have an essay. So you have to have a thesis. You have to have your big idea. I don't know if I've given this example before, but I'm going to give it now because it popped into my head. So if ever, and if I have, just, bear with me, and maybe it hopefully bears repeating. But if you have ever seen it's a little TV show, PBS. I seem to be on a PBS theme right now. It's a TV show on PBS, a children's show, and there's also books. I grew up with the books. Clifford the Big Red Dog, right? Who's seen Clifford the Big Red Dog or read Clifford the Big Red Dog? So if you've read the books or seen if you have children in your family, it's still on TV, and it's a really cute show, right? So if you've ever seen especially the cartoon Clifford the Big Red Dog, Clifford always has a like a theme, right, for the show, right? And it's called Clifford's, I think it's his big idea, right? He's a big dog and he's got a big idea. So Clifford's big idea is what the overall show is about for that day, and then they have a couple different episodes, and every episode would be a different aspect of that big idea. So for example, if Clifford's big idea for that show for that day is about sharing, then they might have one episode about, Clifford sharing something, and maybe the other episode is about Emily, his owner, like maybe she's sharing something with her friends or something like that. It would be different aspects of sharing, right? So the big idea is sharing, and then then we have the first episode about this aspect of sharing. Second episode is about the second aspect of sharing, but it's all about the big idea, which is sharing, right? So your thesis statement is your big dog idea. I mean, it is your big idea, and it has to govern your whole paper. So just like Clifford, you have to have different aspects of that big idea, right? So, but it all has to support the big idea, all right? So that's my Clifford example. All right, so let's just go over this. So again, we're doing our layers, right? And you want to have your intro for the documentary response. If you're choosing that option, this is an option, that you're going to first summarize the film. So give a few sentences where you explain what the film is about, because that way the reader understands an overview of what the film is about, even if they hadn't seen it. They shouldn't be like completely confused, right? So they should be able to read your paper and really get something out of it, and even maybe want to go see the film from reading your paper, right? They shouldn't have to have already seen it. So, and then you're going to explain the idea that you're working with and both sides. Like what I like to say, explain the controversy. Why do people have different ideas about this? Explain. All right, and then you are going to transition to the thesis, meaning, like I say, turn the car, right? So start explaining your thesis before your thesis, right? So again, you're not going to have an awkward jump between here's the issue and, oh yeah, here's my thesis, right? We're going to explain it. We're going to wind into it, all right? Then you have your thesis, your big dog idea. That's your topic plus your idea about your topic. And I strongly suggest, in fact, it's got to happen. In your introduction, you must have the full title of the film. Got to do it. And you should also have the director's name. And then in your thesis, I would put again the full title of the film. You don't have to put the director's name again, but if it works out, it's fine. But the full title of the film, and then the issue and your idea. Full title of film, issue, idea. All right. So that's, and the idea can be, it's your opinion, right? Your opinion about that, or what you're arguing, or what you want to have happen. So something like, in 180 Days in an American High School, I don't know. I had to wind my way in. I don't know if I can pull a thesis out of my head about that. I don't know. Something about like maybe you think that school funding should be distributed more equitably, so that some schools, it wouldn't be like it apparently is now, that some schools, have less depending on what neighborhood one lives in, and some have more, that there should be more of an equal distribution. So you would explain again, say that was your idea. You would explain, you would give like an overview of the summary of the film. You would explain that idea, but you would explain both sides. There's obviously a flip side to that, that not everyone would agree with that. And you would explain both sides on that neutrally, right? Without any name calling or anything like that. Then you would transition to the thesis, like this, both sides say this, but then you start saying what you say, right? And then go into your thesis. All right, if that, hopefully that's clear. All right, so that's an overview of the introduction. And then I just want to go over a little about the body paragraphs. But before this, just to make sure you can see this, I'm going to put this up right here. And I hope that's clear now. I think I'm too close. But again, just remember your layers, what you need for those layers. Peekaboo, I'm just holding it up so you guys can see. I hope this is clear. Oh my goodness. Okay.